think my favourite would have been doing bat surveys, general bat surveys, so sitting over on the other side of this wall,
I think that was one of our concerns, is that the signage was sort of,
looking for emergence and then re-entry as well,
there's not much of a need for that. There's maybe even an opportunity
and walking up through the woods at the reserve, and just sort of doing bat walks over there, and then you sort of get no bats, are there any bats? And then suddenly it's bats. So it's pipistrelles, noctules. It's just the sort of sheer number of them.
And people respond well to that.
Oh yeah, they love it. Yes, it's just that sort of special. Everyone gets bat neck from looking up.
That's the voice of Mary Smith, National Trust for Scotland Ranger on the Threave estate. We are back here, Liam, Alison, Fiona and me, with Mary supervising us. We are not on the nature reserve side as before, but the ornamental gardens around the manor house. To be more precise, like the Dorbentons, like the scrappy edge of town, we're on the scrappy edge of the gardens, outside the wall, where visitors don't tread. A place where leans-to slump against walls, and tool sheds come up against toilet blocks and compost heaps. Threave has 7 of the 9 bat species found in Scotland. It is Scotland's only bat reserve, and a beautiful place to explore. But life gets everywhere, even by the bins, and sometimes you need to be there to find it. Although, actually I don't expect to find anything, particularly here this evening, because...
Some spits of rain. I was worried that it was going to rain tonight.
Should we go under the tree?
If you like, yeah, if you're more comfortable under the tree, then feel free to do that. I'm hoping that it won't come too much. I think maybe if it's drizzling like this, but I think if it gets like too wet, we might need to abandon the count. But I'm hoping that based on the forecast I saw, it was only about 20% chance of rain rising to 40 or 50 by about 11 p.m.
The brown long-eared bat lives beside us, though you wouldn't know it. It might well live in your roof, clinging to the timbers, eating the larger moths that they share the night with. If it does, you're lucky. Like the other species, it is nominally common and widespread, except it's not. Declining and elusive, it is a mysterious species. A whispering bat that mumbles its echolocation, notoriously difficult to pick up on a detector. It is also part of the evolutionary tussle between predator and prey. Its giant ears, the length of its body, negate the need for ultrasound to find prey. It can hear movements and pick insects from the surface of a leaf. Useful, as some moths have the ability to jam ultrasonic frequencies or emit their own disorientating warning noises. This is the second count of a maternity roost. A maternity roost is one of those facets of being a bat that makes their otherness seem laughable. Because they are mammals, they give birth to live young. The maternity roost is a birthing ward, mother and pup, sleeping in the same nooks in the roof of a lean-to, the pup suckled until it can steer its wings in flight and forage for its own food. We count them as they wake up for the night and slip out of the roost. Male brown long-eared bats spend time in the roost too, unusually committed for bat dads. I had to miss the first count. I was busy being a committed human dad. Fiona and Alison, fizzing with their usual enthusiasm for all wildlife, were keen to fill me in on the full experience of it.
Yeah, it was great. It was enjoying as the night drew in. It also makes you aware of other species that are around while you're also out surveying one species. You become aware of other species that are around about you.
Yeah, it was the blackbirds were really noisy, weren't they? Really loud.
Yeah, and then we had a massive rook. Was it a rook or a jackdaw? Was watching up from the trees and.
They're not here.
It's good just to.
Oh, we had a hare as well. We did.
It's just nice.
I think it maybe was Leo.
It's good mindfulness, just sitting and being and watching and.
Definitely. It's some black. Is that blackbirds? Just
yeah.
I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
And what's it like seeing a brown long-eared bat? Have you seen a brown long-eared bat before? Or?
No, that was the first time we'd seen them, and it was it was pretty epic. And then once they all eventually started, I think there was 9 of them altogether, wasn't there, that we seen. So yeah, it was great. We were standing, we had the bat detectors going, and you could try out the different frequencies, because there was others with tripper shuttles as well flying over. So yeah, it was great. It was brilliant.
Do you have an idea of the threats facing brown long-eared bat or bats in general? Or?
I think it comes to land, how it's manned out there. I think that not just bats, but I think a lot of species are at risk of how the land is
Agriculture,
managed.
fertilisers, getting rid of insect life
fields and silage and insects,
silage.
pesticides, that sort of thing. You've obviously got the insects the bats enjoy, so that's always at jeopardy. The roost sites, if they're not surveyed properly, there's at risk of devastation for the roosts of populations. And trees as well, deforestation, they enjoy the roosts and the trees and stuff. You've got that for them too.
Yeah.
So
and
there's a lot of things.
We've locally to where I am, there's been bat roosts, and they've been destroyed by building, removal of trees,
for houses.
No preservation order in the trees, and they're down, and that's it. And the buildings, the old buildings removed, and no proper ecology survey done. So they're just, it's a battle for them, it really is.
Definitely. And it comes back to that raising awareness, and I think that's why it's so important. Like, so the species on the edge and us being out here, it raises that awareness of where they might be. Basically, it's just us all coming together as like a community for bats, and advocating for them and being a voice out there in the world where they can't do that. So I think these groups to come together with like-minded people that want to stand for an hour, 2 hours to survey bats coming out, I think is really important to do. So we're delighted to be involved with that and be involved, and look forward to doing more surveys and keeping the advocacy for bats alive.
Meeting different kinds of bats, I think that's the exciting thing. The other night we saw, what were they, Fiona, some species?
But Liam, why are we here?
We've struggled particularly with brown long-eared on the Solway because, well, for me personally, there were so few sites that were known, so few known roost sites to inform our survey efforts. The roost count is different from the field survey and waterway survey on the NBMP, the National Bat Monitoring Programme, because rather than those sites being randomly allocated and then selected or adopted, most of them are self-declared. You need to know of a roost site, and ideally it'll be at a site that you have permission to survey, or it's at your own property. And I was surprised to learn that the data that we were given from the Bat Conservation Trust, there were only a handful, 2 or 3 perhaps, known brown long-eared bat roost sites, and then 2 of which we had considered to survey, I think because of their geographic relationship with the Solway coast, Species on the Edge being a coastal and island project, and both of the landowners associated with those sites were approached and then either didn't respond or didn't give permission for them to be surveyed. And it was only really anecdotally through my interaction with the bat group, the Dumfries and Galloway bat group, that I learned of a handful of other brown long-eared sites, and I followed those tips as far as I could, and was mainly met with confusion. Some homeowners, it can be quite concerning to them initially, and then a lot of questions you get from people are about how do I get rid of bats, and the answer being, well, answering with the question of why do you want to get rid of them, rather promoting this sort of culture of cohabitation where you accept that to live alongside the bats. But you do find that people are overcome with that curiosity and end up feeling more of a sense of kinship. I suppose, like the paper that you referenced earlier, it is interesting that he chose a bat, and it being another mammal. In fact, there's a lot in common that we do share with bats, and a lot of misconceptions about bats as well, how people will use the phrase like blind as a bat, when in actual fact bats, their vision is as good, presumably, as human vision. Maybe not quite as good, but they're certainly not blind, but just by virtue of the fact that they are out at night, they've evolved this ability to echolocate. But yeah, they lactate like other mammals. Anatomically speaking, I think we've spoken about before, when you look at how a bat's wing is arranged, it's strikingly similar to a human's hand and its sort of digits. So there is a relatability in that.
No fanfare. It just happens mid-conversation. I am looking the wrong way. Alison and Fiona exclaim as the detector crackles. Mary and Liam and me, our heads snap round in sync to the detector's beat. A black flash of bat appearing, disappearing in one fluid movement, from under the raised tile to the black understory of a tree too dense for the last lights to penetrate. Unseen, it gleans its rich pickings of the insects also seeking shelter from the murky smur of the late evening. The detector taps out the Morse code of its call. A rattle, methodical, slowly precise. Mayday for mayflies. Again, this is not a typical bat's, if there even is such a thing. Their broader rings are slow. Their bodies look rounder, although we are watching them fly across us rather than above us, as pipistrels almost always are. There is something butterfly-like about them. The same sheer improbability of their slow, broad-winged flight, suspending them in air. There is something incredibly improbable about them being bats in the first place, somehow slower, more deliberate, more physical than the other species I've seen on the project. And for all that, their slower, more deliberate flight, they are more elusive, less knowable. The detector taps out the translation. They take a couple of seconds to slip from the roof to the trees, our window of viewing always fleeting in the now dead light of heavy clouds at night. We count 10. An improvement on 2 weeks ago. But that's not the full story, because of what we saw.
So what we just saw was a bat emerging from the roost, and it seemed to come into close contact with another bat in flight, and one of the observers thought that one bat looked smaller than the other. And so I explained that the reason that when we do roost counts, we usually do 2 throughout the month of June, and usually we're counting maternity roosts. And my understanding is that towards the end of June, the young will be at a stage where they're ready to emerge from the maternity roost. So what I was hypothesizing is that what we observed was a mother interacting with its adolescent offspring. And probably what it was doing was making its presence aware and sort of exactly, that's a nice way to put it.
Supporting it. Yeah, supporting it in the way.